What if everything you've ever called truth was nothing but a polite lie whispered into your ear by a world too afraid to feel? What if every moral, every sacred principle, every virtuous whisper that shaped your spine was just a camouflage, an aesthetic bandage hiding the raw, pulsing chaos of life beneath? Nietzsche did not write to comfort you. He wrote like a hammer shattering mirrors, forcing you to confront not your reflection, but the abyss that stares behind it. His words burn not because they are cruel, but because they unveil what you already knew, but never dare to name. This is not philosophy. This is seduction through fire. Why did Nietzsche provoke with such surgical cruelty? Why did he laugh where others wept, dance where others knelt, and speak in aphorisms that bite like venom and bloom like revelation? Perhaps the real question is, what was he trying to wake us from? His writing is not merely radical. It is radioactive, charged with a power that corrodes all certainty. To read him is to bleed internally, to have your most cherished beliefs pulled apart like soft bread by a ravenous hunger for authenticity. But can you endure that hunger without filling it with another illusion? Imagine standing on a stage, not as a performer, but as the stage itself, wooden, trembling, carrying the weight of roles you never chose. Now imagine someone stepping forward mid-performance and whispering, "None of this is real." That was Nietzsche's gift or curse. His style was not exaggeration. It was revelation through rupture. And every sentence he wrote was a scalpel carving through the anesthesia of comfort. But ask yourself, if you felt the blade, would you flinch or would you awaken? There is a reason his words feel like riddles etched in thunder. He did not argue, he seduced, he dared, he provoked. His truths do not arrive wrapped in logic, but dressed as paradoxes that refuse to resolve. And perhaps that is the point. Maybe clarity is just another form of obedience. Perhaps the only real freedom lies in the tension between two irreconcilable ideas. What if Nietzsche's style was not a method, but a mirror of the very cosmos, violent, beautiful, and utterly indifferent to your need for meaning? So now you stand at the edge, not of understanding, but of undoing. And before you lies a question not meant to be answered, but lived. Why did Nietzsche write as if language itself were a weapon? And more importantly, what part of you is he still trying to kill? He did not want to be understood. Not truly. To understand him would be to tame him, to reduce the fire of his words to a glow that could warm rather than burn. Nietzsche never wrote for the mind's domesticados Pelican Kale. He wrote for those still capable of trembling diante du abismo. His style, abrupt, feroz, quace, cruel, was not flawed to be explained away. It was the very method of his truth. One does not whisper into the ear of a sleeping world. One howls. One hurls words like lightning, hoping that one bolt, just one, will awaken the nerve endings of a soul long anesthetized. Do you feel it now? That vertigem suave quando tutto, o que você achava salado comica rachar? Good. That is the door. To provoke is not to offend. To provoke is to touch a wound so deeply buried it forgot it was bleeding. Nietzsche understood that pain is the only teacher the ego respects. Not the pain of the body, no, that is too crude, but the pain of watching your favorite mask fall in slow motion and realizing it was never your face to begin with. Why did he write with violence? Because the soul, covered in layers of borrowed virtue and secondhand beliefs, only responds to shock. The shock of a sentence that cuts through a decade of passivity. The shock of a thought you were never allowed to think. The shock of silence when everything in you screams for noise. Do you still believe you are thinking for yourself? Or has every idea you've ever had already been thought, packaged, and sold to you with a smile? He was not trying to be admired. He was trying to infect. His style was a virus that slips past your immune system of rationalizations, aphorisms like traps, ironies like mirrors. His laughter was never joy. It was the echo of a god who realized he was just another metaphor. And yet, there is something seductive in this madness. something unbearably alive, because in the rupture, in the tearing down of everything sacred, something ancient begins to whisper, not from books, not from teachers, but from somewhere deeper, the marrow of instinct, the fire behind the eyes. That is what he was awakening. Not agreement, but confrontation. Not disciples, but warriors. Can you still trust your thoughts after he's spoken to you? Or are you now haunted by the suspicion that every conclusion is a form of sleep? He knew that language was a cage, so he turned it into a labyrinth, not to confuse you, but to test whether you would keep walking even when the exit disappeared. Every contradiction in his writing was intentional. Every paradox was a mirror turned back toward the reader. He wrote as if meaning were a drug and clarity a prison. If you want coherence, go to the priests. If you want truth, learn to dance with chaos. This was his wager, that only those willing to be unmade could ever become something real. He wasn't giving answers. He was stealing your comfort and watching what you did with the emptiness. Do you fill it quickly with the next convenient doctrine? Or do you dare to linger in the silence, letting the absence become a presence of its own? That silence, that ache, is where you begin to hear yourself again. There is a violence in honesty, the kind that doesn't scream but stares. Nietzsche's words stare. They follow you into your daily rituals, into your prayers, into your arguments, and quietly dismantle the scaffolding. And yet, somehow, you keep reading, keep listening. Why? Because something in you knows that provocation is not cruelty. It is intimacy without illusion. To provoke is to say, I see what you're hiding behind. And suddenly, you're not just watching a video. You're standing naked in front of a forgotten mirror, asking questions no one can answer for you. What if this entire world is a theater built to avoid a single moment of real self-recognition? And what if Nietzsche, in all his brutal elegance, was not trying to destroy you, but to return you to the only part of yourself that was ever truly alive, the part that can no longer be lied to? And now, perhaps without noticing, you are no longer the same. Something shifted, not loudly, not visibly, but like a single breath that carries a storm within it. You came seeking to understand a style, and found the mirror of your own unrest. Nietzsche did not provoke for spectacle. He provoked because only through rupture can something true emerge. And maybe, just maybe, something in you is cracked open, like a seed that mistook its shell for a shield. You were never meant to agree. You were meant to feel, to tremble, to stare into the language and see not Nietzsche, but yourself stripped of borrowed beliefs. What remains after the fire is not ash, it is essence. And if you are silent now, it's not from emptiness, but from weight. The kind of weight only a forgotten truth can carry when it finally remembers its name. His words were not answers. They were permissions to question, to break, to begin again. You will think of this not when you're busy, but when silence visits. In a dream, in a hesitation, in that brief pause before decision. And suddenly, he will be there again, not as a voice, but as a friction inside your honesty. That is the echo. That is the gift. Nietzsche didn't write to finish thoughts. He wrote to plant them like hidden knives and let time do the cutting. So if something stirred in you, if a discomfort remains, let it live. Let it burn until it reveals what has always been yours, but was never touched. And when you feel you can no longer return to what you were, that is where it all begins. That is where you meet yourself. Write in the comments what moved within you. Share this video with those still hiding from their own depth. And subscribe, not out of habit, but because some journeys only